Well, hello everyone. You're here to show you that the Big Bird Teachers Meetings 2 sequence, you see right here, is that I went ahead and colored in Big Bird, and along with this activity. Of course, it's a little bit different from what I had drawn before, but I went ahead and used as like what you call blue, for the outline, and then along right here is you got these like the Sesame Street characters, but basically talking about with teachers meetings, as talking about with most of the meetings, if you would ask it's like wondering about, it's like what is there to talk about. And of course with most of the meetings talk about, but with most of the meetings is that a lot of times that they have them, and I used to always think that it's like with most teachers would probably think about is that during the meetings that a lot of teachers, I used to watch the educational shows, and they would say talk about, it's like with meetings with most of them is that whenever teachers go to them, that more likely that they say that that's whenever the half days occur, is that the kids get to go home early. They get to get out of school within about 2 or 3 hours earlier than usual. It is that they usually send out a letter to the parent or guardian and knowing about is like when the kids were going to be getting out of school. It is, and a lot of times is that knowing about is that especially on the half days, and I remember those half days, and I remember that you used to happen, and I remember at the elementary schools, I guess not everywhere, but at the elementary schools, that a lot of times it was the lunches that they would not even really have time to allow the kids to go into the cafeteria and to sit down with their friends and then eat their lunch, and then of course it's like attend recess time or anything like that, or maybe music or art class or anything like that. I think in the elementary schools, I think that they don't even have specials. I think there's a few class courses that I guess that they don't have, and if I can remember right, that whenever I was in school, that the classes that they mainly still had, of course, were like math and science and English, but on the other hand too, that especially on a half day, that they would mainly leave out the specials, and then of course I think that they would only allow one recess time during the day, and then the kids would go home, and then the teachers would have to stick around and go to the meetings. And a lot of times you begin to wonder is that at the time that people probably think about it's like with most teachers is knowing about really what is more boring in the world other than knowing about the fact about that sit there in front of a computer and draw a square. Yeah, like, what do you want to draw a square other than collecting honey? Collecting honey for the say as a honeybee. It's like for a honeybee. It's like they got the honeybee right there. Like, what's more boring than that, huh? What is so difficult? But other than that, about is that with most of the time with teachers meetings, is that they could probably say about that anywhere in the world, I guess, where there's going to be educational programs, is that I think that more likely I never been to a teachers meetings, and never was where I sit down and listen to what they say, but I would assume that more likely that they're about is that knowing about it's like what the state requirements are about the state, and of course it's like for the country it is. And knowing about it's like for the country it is knowing about what the school district is teaching the kids, and then the basic stuffs about what they teach, if it's about so far as the activities that they teach, and then of course they may discuss a little bit of that of course with the parents, and then but other than that is knowing about is like with Big Bird is knowing about that there may be a million things that you can call boring, you say that you do in your life, but on the other hand too, that I could probably think about is like, you want to know what's more boring? Like worrying about the fact about you're not going to pass a test is more likely. You're more likely that you may pass the test if you study hard enough and you work on it. But other than that, is knowing about is like with Big Bird, teachers meetings and 2, it's like think twice, and then maybe for 3, it's like think twice about really about what you want to do. Is knowing about is like I remember gave teacher work one time. It's like so far as talking about with you say it's like the Indians. It's like if you were to strap a feather in the back of your head, and then act like an Indian, such and such. But on the other hand, too, that knowing about with most teachers, and think about is that really it's like what we teach our kids and what we need to be prepared to do is like if there's any changes going on in school. But I'm assuming that that's what most teachers meetings are about. Is about maybe not teaching you something, but basically it's like other than if you want to draw a square or a circle. Or if you want to go ahead and draw a stream of water, draw a stream of water right here. It's like, well, where does that water connect to? But other than that, is knowing about, it's like if you want to pick a number between, it's like you see 3 and 5, and 1 and 1.5. It's like, well, which number would be? Is like knowing about the mathematical type problem it is. And then of course whatever word that they do give you. But other than that is that is talking about the fact about the important part about the meeting. Of course, the important part about the meeting is of course you say is understanding about the whole purpose. Like you say about the job, is that knowing about is that the changes that are going on. Say in the school district it is, and of course it's like no matter I guess Bob. Teachers probably say it's not like hanging out with your friends or whatever you call it, talking to your friends. It's more like about knowing, about understanding, about, hey, it's like, we each have a responsibility. Knowing about, it's like that thing that you just don't realize whenever you're a kid, how important it is until you get older. But on the other hand, too, that we can, the teachers may think about, it's like for the kids, you get to go home and have some fun, and then that the students will be like, hey, well, you get a paycheck. You get a paycheck. Miss. I guess. Maybe pick a name at random. It's like Mrs. Oranic or something like that. But other than that, you'll get a paycheck. Miss, and like Mrs. And then Mrs. Teacher. It's like the teacher with the gold crowd. But other than that, it's like knowing about. It's like Big Bird. Big Bird and teachers meetings 2 coloring.